ExamPrep.School. Rhode Island Motor Vehicle Damage Insurance Appraiser Exam. Exam code InsRI-AutoAp38 or OPAutoAp38. There are 6 practice exams in the series. This video covers Practice Exam 1. The first 20 questions are free. In this video, we will be covering the following major categories for Practice Exam 1. Basic auto policies, private and commercial. Identifying the damage and writing a fair and accurate estimate. Insurance concepts pertinent to automobile appraisers. Refinishing. Rhode Island laws, rules, regulations common to property and casualty insurance. Rhode Island laws, rules, regulations pertinent to motor vehicle appraising. Standard crash, book, estimating software, standard auto parts descriptions and functions. Aftermarket parts. Let's walk through the format. I'll read each question and its choices. Let's get started. Question 1. Under Rhode Island regulations, which of the following best defines an unfair claim settlement practice by an auto damage appraiser? A. Delaying payment beyond the period specified by law. B. Inspecting a vehicle without providing written notice of findings. C. Charging additional fees without prior disclosure to the claimant. D. Systematically misrepresenting pertinent facts or policy provisions to reduce claim payments. A countdown circle appears in the top right. Once it completes, the answer is revealed. You can pause at any time if you'd like longer to think. If you'd like additional practice covering more topics, see the description for our book. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is because an unfair claim settlement practice includes knowingly misrepresenting facts or policy provisions to influence the amount payable on a claim under Rhode Island law. Reason A is not correct. Delaying payment beyond required timelines is a settlement delay issue, but does not itself define an unfair practice. Reason B is not correct. Failing to provide written notice is a procedural requirement, but not the primary definition of an unfair settlement practice. Reason C is not correct. Charging undisclosed fees is improper, but not the core definition of an unfair settlement practice. Question 2. Under Rhode Island law, misrepresentation of policy provisions in handling an auto damage claim would occur when an appraiser A. Overstates coverage limits to encourage inflated repair estimates. B. Adopts a neutral evaluation standard for estimating damages. C. Provides a claimant with a complete copy of the insurance policy. D. Cites incorrect policy exclusions to justify a lower settlement amount. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is because stating incorrect policy exclusions to reduce the amount paid is a direct misrepresentation of policy provisions under Rhode Island regulations. Reason A is not correct. Overstating coverage would inflate payments rather than misrepresent terms to reduce them. Reason B is not correct. Using a neutral evaluation standard does not misrepresent policy provisions. Reason C is not correct. Providing a full policy copy is compliant, not a misrepresentation. Question 3. Rhode Island law requires motor vehicle damage appraisers to acknowledge receipt of claim communications within how many calendar days? A. 5 days. B. 30 days. C. 20 days. D. 10 days. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is because Rhode Island regulations mandate acknowledgement of claim communications by an appraiser within 10 calendar days of receipt. Reason A is not correct. 5 days is shorter than the statutory requirement. Reason B is not correct. 30 days far exceeds the regulatory time frame. Reason C is not correct. 20 days exceeds the period allowed for prompt acknowledgement. Question 4. Which of the following describes reasonable standards for the claim investigation duty that Rhode Island appraisers must follow? A. Initiating an investigation only after receiving direct approval from the insurer. B. Using a fixed timeline for every claim, regardless of its complexity. C. Delegating all investigative tasks to third parties without oversight. D. Completing a preliminary investigation within statutory timelines and documenting findings based on industry guidelines. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is because appraisers must perform investigations promptly within regulatory timeframes and document findings according to recognized industry standards. Reason A is not correct. Waiting for insurer approval delays the required prompt investigation. Reason B is not correct. A uniform timeline disregards the differing complexities of individual claims. Reason C is not correct. Outsourcing without oversight fails to meet standards for direct appraiser responsibility. Question 5. Under Rhode Island regulations, after a motor vehicle damage appraiser receives a properly executed proof of loss, within what period must the appraiser affirm or deny coverage? A. 15 business days. B. 5 business days. C. 30 business days. D. 45 business days. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is because Rhode Island law requires appraisers to affirm or deny coverage within 15 business days of receiving a completed proof of loss. Reason B is not correct. 5 business days is shorter than the regulatory requirement. Reason C is not correct. 30 business days exceeds the time frame stipulated by law. Reason D is not correct. 45 business days far exceeds the permitted period. Question 6. An independent appraiser submits a detailed estimate showing $7,200 in collision damage repair costs to an insurer on March 1st. Liability is undisputed under Rhode Island unfair claim settlement regulations. Which action best demonstrates the insurer's good faith effort to settle the claim? A. Notify the insured that the claim will be reviewed for up to 60 days before any payment decision. B. Send a written settlement offer covering $7,200 within 30 days of receiving the estimate. C. Request additional proof of loss documentation after 30 days have passed. D. Ask the insured to obtain a second appraisal within 45 days before negotiating payment. The correct answer is B. Rhode Island law requires an insurer to make a written settlement offer on undisputed liability claims within 30 days of receiving an estimate. Timely payment of the full amount demonstrates a good faith effort to settle when liability is clear. Reason A is not correct. Waiting 60 days without an offer violates the requirement for a prompt settlement when liability is undisputed. Reason C is not correct. Requesting more documentation after 30 days unnecessarily delays settlement despite clear liability. Reason D is not correct. Demanding a second appraisal within 45 days imposes an unwarranted delay and contradicts prompt settlement obligations. Question 7. According to Rhode Island regulations, which individual is required to hold a motor vehicle damage appraiser license? A. A technician conducting damage assessments under the direction of a licensed appraiser. B. An insurer's in-house adjuster evaluating collision repair estimates. C. An independent appraiser engaged by an insured to determine repair costs. D. A repair shop supervisor ordering replacement parts after appraisal. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is an independent appraiser engaged by an insured to determine repair costs, as anyone performing damage appraisals for compensation must hold a license in Rhode Island. Reason A is not correct. Conducting assessments under direct supervision does not require a separate appraiser license in Rhode Island. Reason B is not correct. In-house adjusters operate under a different license classification and are not covered by the damage appraiser license requirements. Reason D is not correct. A repair shop supervisor's role in ordering parts is outside the statutory definition of performing damage appraisals. Question 8. Under Rhode Island professional standards, a licensed motor vehicle damage appraiser is authorized to perform which of the following activities? A. Provide estimates for bodily injury liability claims. B. Serve as an umpire in appraisal disputes without separate appointment. C. Issue certified statements of actual cash value for physical damage claims. D. Direct repair shop procedures during a collision repair. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is issuing certified statements of actual cash value for physical damage claims, which falls squarely within the appraiser's authorized duties under Rhode Island regulations. Reason A is not correct. Appraisers do not estimate bodily injury liability, which is handled by adjusters or liability specialists. Reason B is not correct. Serving as an umpire requires a separate umpire appointment and is not automatically granted by holding an appraiser license. Reason D is not correct. Directing repair procedures is considered work of a repair facility, not within the appraiser's scope of authority. Question 9. Which of the following must be included in an initial application for a Rhode Island motor vehicle damage appraiser license? A. Proof of minimum professional liability insurance coverage. B. Disclosure of any felony convictions within the past 5 years. C. Written authorization from a sponsoring insurance company. D. Certification of completion of a state-approved appraiser training course. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is disclosure of any felony convictions within the past 5 years, as Rhode Island requires applicants to disclose criminal history for character and fitness evaluation. Reason A is not correct. Professional liability insurance is not required to be submitted with the initial application in Rhode Island. Reason C is not correct. Rhode Island does not require a sponsoring insurance company's written authorization to apply. Reason D is not correct. No state-approved training course completion certificate is mandated for initial licensure. Question 10. By what date must a Rhode Island motor vehicle damage appraiser submit both the license renewal application and proof of required continuing education each year? A. December 1st. B. December 31st. C. June 30th. D. January 15th. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is December 1st, which is the deadline for submitting renewal applications and continuing education documentation at least 30 days before the December 31st license expiration. Reason B is not correct. December 31st is the expiration date, not the submission deadline. Reason C is not correct. June 30th is unrelated to the annual license renewal cycle in Rhode Island. Reason D is not correct. January 15th falls after the expiration date and is not a valid deadline. Question 11. An insurer refers a motor vehicle damage appraiser to a body shop that offers referral fees. The appraiser does not disclose this arrangement and subsequently submits an estimate that omits substantial hidden structural damage to reduce repair costs. Under Rhode Island regulations, which action most directly constitutes grounds for disciplinary action against the appraiser? A. Failing to complete required continuing education by the renewal deadline. B. Accepting undisclosed referral fees from the repair facility. C. Knowingly submitting an estimate that omits documented damage to understate costs. D. Making a clerical error in recording a vehicle identification number and correcting it before delivery. The correct answer is C. This option is correct because deliberately omitting known damage from a written estimate constitutes misrepresentation and fraud, which are explicit grounds for disciplinary action under Rhode Island appraisal professional standards. Reason A is not correct. Failure to complete continuing education on time is an administrative non-renewal issue rather than a disciplinary violation of appraisal ethics. Reason B is not correct. Although accepting undisclosed referral fees creates a conflict of interest, the direct disciplinary violation in this scenario is the fraudulent understatement of damage in the estimate. Reason D is not correct. A corrected clerical mistake does not rise to the level of professional misconduct or misrepresentation required for disciplinary action. Question 12. Under Rhode Island motor vehicle damage claim procedures, the primary purpose of conducting a pre-inspection on a private passenger vehicle is to A. Document the vehicle's pre-loss condition to distinguish prior damage from a new collision damage. B. Verify that the insured's policy deductible applies specifically to the claimed damage before authorizing repairs. C. Determine the vehicle's current fair market value for total loss or salvage decisions before settlement. D. Confirm the identity of the insured and registered owner prior to approving repair estimates and payments. The correct answer is A. This option correctly describes the primary purpose of a pre-inspection, which is to formally record the existing vehicle condition to separate new collision damage from pre-existing defects. Reason B is not correct. This option describes deductible applicability, which is not the focus of a pre-inspection. Reason C is not correct. Total loss valuation occurs after damage documentation, not during the pre-inspection process. Reason D is not correct. Identity verification is a separate administrative step, not the main goal of a damage pre-inspection. Question 13. According to Rhode Island Motor Vehicle Appraiser regulations, which of the following items is typically documented during a pre-inspection, and why is it recorded? A. Measure engine noise levels and emissions to estimate repair needs and compliance costs. B. Document existing body panel damage and odometer reading to establish the vehicle's pre-loss condition. C. Capture interior condition photographs to determine rental reimbursement, eligibility, and repair scope. D. Inventory spare tire and tool equipment to assess coverage for lost accessories. The correct answer is B. This option correctly identifies that pre-inspections record existing body damage and mileage to set a baseline for distinguishing new damage from pre-existing conditions. Reason A is not correct. Mechanical noise and emissions testing is not part of the standard pre-inspection documentation. Reason C is not correct. Interior cleanliness and rental eligibility are unrelated to establishing pre-loss damage conditions. Reason D is not correct. Accessory inventory is not typically documented in a pre-inspection focused on collision damage. Question 14. Under Rhode Island auto damage claim procedures, when must a pre-inspection be performed before coverage applies? A. When the insured elects to retain salvage rights to record condition before coverage applies. B. Whenever estimated repair costs exceed 50% of the vehicle's actual cash value. C. Only when a dispute over liability arises from a third-party claim. D. Prior to issuing a rental reimbursement vehicle to the insured. The correct answer is A. This option correctly reflects the requirement to perform a pre-inspection when the insured chooses to retain salvage, ensuring the condition is documented before coverage is granted. Reason B is not correct. Cost thresholds for total loss valuation are determined after initial damage documentation, not as a pre-inspection trigger. Reason C is not correct. Liability disputes do not mandate a pre-inspection under these auto damage procedures. Reason D is not correct. Rental reimbursement arrangements are separate and do not require a damage pre-inspection beforehand. Question 15. Under Rhode Island law, which of the following is a general power of the insurance commissioner? A. Issue administrative subpoenas to compel production of insurer records. B. Set minimum policyholder premium amounts for commercial auto coverage. C. Serve as umpire in appraisal disputes between insurers and insured. D. Determine fault in motor vehicle accident claims. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is that the commissioner may issue administrative subpoenas to compel examination of insurer records. Other powers such as setting fixed premium minimums, serving as appraisal umpires, or determining accident fault are not general regulatory authorities. Reason B is not correct. The commissioner cannot prescribe specific premium levels for commercial auto. Rate setting follows a notice and approval process. Reason C is not correct. Appraisal umpire functions are assigned by policy terms or appraisal clauses, not by the commissioner's general authority. Reason D is not correct. Adjudicating fault in accidents is a claims handling activity performed by insurers, not a regulatory function of the commissioner. Question 16. Which of the following actions is the Rhode Island Insurance Commissioner empowered to perform during an examination or investigation? A. Administer oaths and affirmations to any officer, agent, or person under investigation. B. Levy criminal penalties directly without judicial proceedings. C. Conduct warrantless searches of private residences. D. Seize insurer assets without court order. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is that the commissioner may administer oaths and affirmations during investigations. Powers to conduct warrantless home searches, seize assets without judicial process, or impose criminal penalties without trial are not granted to the commissioner. Reason B is not correct. The commissioner may impose administrative fines but cannot directly levy criminal penalties without judicial proceedings. Reason C is not correct. Searches of private residences require search warrants and are outside the commissioner's investigatory powers. Reason D is not correct. Asset seizures by the commissioner require a court order. Summary seizure authority is not granted. Question 17. What is the primary purpose of a cease and desist order issued by the Rhode Island Insurance Commissioner? A. To revoke an insurer's license permanently. B. To direct immediate cessation of unfair or deceptive insurance practices. C. To impose administrative penalties for past violations. D. To appoint a receiver for a failing insurer. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is that a cease and desist order is intended to require immediate stoppage of unfair or deceptive practices. It is not itself a license revocation, penalty assessment, or receivership appointment. Reason A is not correct. License revocation is a separate enforcement action and not the main purpose of a cease and desist order. Reason C is not correct. Administrative penalties may accompany enforcement, but the cease and desist itself does not impose fines. Reason D is not correct. Appointment of a receiver addresses insolvency, not directly the function of a cease and desist order. Question 18. Under Rhode Island regulations, when may the insurance commissioner issue a cease and desist order? A. Upon finding probable cause of an unfair practice, following investigation and without prior court hearing. B. Only after a full judicial hearing and final court order. C. Solely at the request of an insured adversely affected by a claim decision. D. After the insurer has paid all administrative fines assessed. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is that the commissioner may issue a cease and desist upon finding probable cause of unfair practices after investigation and before any judicial hearing. It is not contingent on court orders, insured requests, or payment of fines. Reason B is not correct. A cease and desist order does not require a prior judicial hearing or court adjudication. Reason C is not correct. Orders are based on regulatory findings of unfair practices, not solely on insured complaints. Reason D is not correct. Issuance is not conditioned on payment of administrative fines. Question 19. A Rhode Island licensed motor vehicle damage appraiser receives 4 subpoenas from the insurance commissioner, requiring claim file documents but fails to comply with each within the statutory timeframe. Under Rhode Island law, what is the maximum civil penalty that may be imposed for each failure to comply? A. $2,500. B. $5,000. C. $10,000. D. $1,000. The correct answer is D. Rhode Island law authorizes the insurance commissioner to assess a civil penalty of up to $1,000 for each failure to comply with a subpoena request under the insurance code. Reason A is not correct. There is no provision for a $2,500 penalty per violation in the relevant insurance enforcement statutes. Reason B is not correct. Rhode Island statutes do not permit a $5,000 penalty per noncompliance instance for insurance subpoenas. Reason C is not correct. The law does not authorize a $10,000 civil penalty for each failure to comply with a subpoena. Question 20. According to Rhode Island insurance law, which of the following is a common ground for denial of an insurance producer license application? A. Failing to provide proof of continuing education completion in an unrelated jurisdiction. B. Having a felony conviction indicating dishonesty or lack of integrity. C. Being in arrears on child support payments. D. Maintaining errors in omissions insurance coverage above the statutory minimum. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is that a felony conviction indicating dishonesty or lack of integrity is explicitly listed in Rhode Island law as grounds for denial of a producer license application. Reason A is not correct. Proof of continuing education from another jurisdiction is not relevant to initial licensing in Rhode Island. Reason C is not correct. Child support obligations are not specified as grounds for denial of an insurance license. Reason D is not correct. Holding higher than required insurance coverage does not constitute a denial ground. Enjoyed this practice test? Tap like, hit subscribe, and share it with a classmate. Got a question we should tweak? Comment below, we read them all. Find full practice exam books in the description or at ExamPrep.School.